Okay, about another minute or so. All right, I think it's 6 o'clock. Good evening. I'd like to call to order the April 8th Assembly meeting. Sorry. Please join me for a flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The Assembly of the City and Borough of Sitka would like to respectfully acknowledge the traditional First People of Sitka. With gratitude, we proceed on Tlingit Ani. Sarah, roll call, please.
Mr. Pike?
Here.
Ms. Carlson?
Here.
Mr. Yestad?
Here.
Mr. Mosier?
Here.
Mr. Celine?
Here.
And Mayor Eisenbeis and Mr. Christensen are absent this evening.
All right. I'm aware of one agenda change. We're going to pull item D. The sponsors like to pull item D. Discussion, direction, decision on the annual general fund grants for the nonprofit organizations program until we have a more robust assembly group here. Are there other agenda changes or correspondence this evening? So again, we're going to pull item D. Seeing no others, we'll move on to special reports. Let's see. Special reports, government to government. It looks like we have two scheduled today. Planning and Community Development Director Amy Ainsley. Thank you.
Thank you, Assembly members. Amy Ainsley, Planning and Community Development Director. So I'd like to provide everyone an update on the plans regarding Lincoln Street closures for the upcoming summer season. So for the last 3 summers, we've closed Lincoln Street between Lake Street and Catlyan Street during those larger cruise ship days. That threshold has changed a little bit in 2022, but has largely been at 5,000 passengers. And that was between the hours of 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. And the Assembly, at least in the past, had delegated the decision-making authority to the municipal administrator to adjust those changes or to adjust those thresholds or other changes to the street closures. And so considering plans for the 2025 season, we looked at a couple of different factors, speaking with both the Tourism Commission as well as some of the downtown local merchants, and decided that this year we were going to at least trial not closing Lincoln Street for the month of May. So a couple of factors to kind of consider in that is that we have better conformity to the MOU that was signed between the city and the Sitka Dock Company in terms of scheduling ships and those visitor numbers that we're seeing. We also have some really, which I think are going to be some good operational changes from the dock to stagger cruise ship arrivals and departure times so that folks aren't all coming into town at the same time, as well as the introduction of a scheduling app that will bus visitors into town at a more consistent, steady flow as opposed to these large rushes coming into town and leaving town during the day. There was also kind of a greater need for us to focus on managing jaywalking and other pedestrian safety issues and kind of diverting our time and resources into managing that a little bit better. And also just wanting to be responsive to the public input that was received during the tourism task force efforts regarding, frustrations around the street closures. So on March 13th, we did take this to the Tourism Commission. They unanimously recommended that we not close Lincoln Street during the summer season. Some mixed feedback from some of the downtown merchants, and so we decided that the middle ground there was to at least trial this for the month of May to observe and to make plans and to come back to the Assembly at your May 29th meeting to give you a final decision for the remainder of the season. So we're also going to be working with the Tourism Commission to discuss whether or not the public restrooms can be deployed in the downtown area based on those street closures happening or not, as well as helping us review some of the plans for those pedestrian safety measures, including crossing guards, sidewalk attendants, other potential barricade options and that sort of thing. If there are going to be shifts in funding needed to support these different operations, either between departments or between our CPV funds or the general fund, we'll bring back a supplemental appropriation to capture those funds appropriately.
Did you say you are going to have crossing guards, or if it appropriately is needed, you're going to come back for?
We are going to be working on recruiting crossing guards, yes.
Is there any history of when this borough did that before, like when they had 4 crossing guards and meter maids, and like when it was tried to be implemented before, like 15, is there any evidence in what has happened before in town?
The only one that I'm aware of is that I believe we had a traffic conductor at the 4-way stop for a while. That's the only one I'm aware of, but.
You mean Ed Green?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is before Ed Green, when they had roving yellow chalk people and, all right, good enough, thank you.
Any other questions for Amy?
I've got a question about what this is. Since this was presented as a report, we're not looking for assembly feedback. It's just questions. Is that correct? Okay. So Amy, it was mentioned that it was delegated decision-making to administration. Do you recall when the assembly did that? I believe that was before my time.
Yeah, I believe that was at the end of season review in fall of 2022.
Yes, because I started in December of 2022, so right before me. Okay, that's great. Since we're not taking public comment on this and not kind of soliciting assembly comment, when is public comment on this idea or this motion available for?
I would say, I mean, if the assembly wanted to open this up for further assembly, if the assembly wanted to potentially direct the administrator differently or open for public comment, I think my advice would be to work with the mayor and the clerk to place an item on one of your agendas to do so. Otherwise, I mean, public comment could be submitted, I think, to the planning department, particularly, if we stay the course with what's been planned as of now, particularly over the course of May, would be very helpful. Or folks are also welcome to attend Tourism Commission meetings as well.
Okay, so the Tourism Commission meeting, because that was looked at and voted on in March, is there going to be a vote in the April meeting?
No. Okay. There is some discussion about other traffic safety measures, like the stationing of those pedestrian guards and that sort of thing at their meeting on Thursday.
Okay. All right, thank you.
But clarifyingly, there has been an opportunity for public comment at the Tourism Commission.
Correct.
Thank you. Anyone else? Thank you.
Thank you.
I also skated by all sorts of other things in special reports. Is there anyone here for government to government? Municipal boards, commissions, and committees? Sorry. Departments? I don't see anyone from the school district. You guys are coming up. Students and guests? All right, now we're up to quarterly reports. Public Works. Oh, I'm sorry. I got it. And Harrigan Centennial Hall, Mark and Tony. We'll start with Mark.
Good evening, Assembly. I'm Mark Seavey. I'm the asset manager, and I've been the interim Public Works Director since mid-January of this year. For personnel, we're currently staffed at 87% of our billeted positions. We do have 3 applicants for positions, so if we are able to effectively hire in those, it'll bring us up to about 93%. So currently a 40, a 40, a 6, with current potential to move to 43, a 46. Additionally, we have 10 temporary positions for the summer in our grounds maintenance, our building maintenance positions. We have a couple leads for potential hires on those. The only full-time temps or currently filled temp positions we have are in the solid waste for the scrapyard, and we have one in our engineering department for our maybe mainly permit reviews and the permit process. Moving on to budget, overall as a department, we're currently spend down to about 64%, so about 2/3 instead of 3/4 through the year. A lot of that is due to our solid waste has been very effective with the scrapyard at dwindling the materials that have been located there. So slightly lower than I would hope, being 3/4 of the way through the year, but we're on track, and we have some other projects looking to spend that down. Moving into our major projects, the Crescent Harbor restroom replacement is currently still on schedule. We're looking hopefully toward the end of this month. That's a prefab restroom that will replace the Crescent Harbor restroom near the playground. Currently, they're only looking at the utility connections for the water and sewer that are coming into that to make sure they're going to be sufficient for the prefab design. The fixtures that are in place are going to mirror what's coming in, so we do not foresee any problems with that. Next to that, we have the GPIP vessel hut, which I know we've talked about. Phase 1 is still on schedule. We're looking at May 18th or 19th as the substantial completion date. We're still looking towards the end of April to have the travel lift on site for assembly. And there were some key milestones provided for that. We have a biosolids expansion project going in. The permits for that project go through the end of this year. We're currently looking at a May, June, and July timeframe for construction for the expansion, with the contract completion in September. Recently, we put out for bid the Lakehurst Monastery and Kincaid Road and Utility Project. For that project, we had allocated through our design about $7 million for construction phase. Our bids came back at 11.2 and 11.4 million. So we're well shy of the mark. I'm working with the engineering and the contracting team and to discuss with legal about our options to continue. It's looking at either closing that bid out, and we're going to look at other avenues to continue that project. There was not a lot of additional improvement other than replacing the materials in the ground. As we go forward with that, we'll be working with the engineering team to see if we did not pursue any waivers for that project. So essentially, as we're upgrading our utilities, there are new requirements since the utilities were put in that almost double the amount of trenching and some of the road work that we have to do. We may look into waivers, being able to replace the utilities in place. That might require some concrete damming between the utilities. If that comes back as a cost-effective measure, we'll look to rebid that project out. But for now, we're finalizing our plan essentially to either close the bid and work with the two contractors to see if they have any ideas to lower the construction costs, or if we were to award to the low bidder, we'll be looking at phasing that project so that we can work within the budget constraints that we have.
And that was for the Lake Street?
That's for
And you
Lake.
guys figured it was gonna be 7 and the bids came in at 11?
That was for Lakehurst Monastery and Kincaid, so it's two side streets, Lake and Monastery. We had a evaluation done by P&D as our technical advisor, and they came in with an engineering estimate, and their estimate for the project came in at $7 million.
And that's Berrien Power too?
It's not Berrien Power. It is an improvement on the monastery side, so instead of having ditches on the side of the road, it was gonna extend the asphalt to the sides and put the stormwater underneath, which is the main improvement on that side, but otherwise no major improvements.
Thank you.
Question about the Crescent Harbor bathrooms. Later on in the list tonight, we're talking about CPV funds, and it looks like a bit of money was originally put towards that project from CPV. That's commercial passenger vessel or cruise passengers. So this was a prefab install. That's just taking the building, kind of putting it down. Is there any site improvements around there, like more concrete that's happening?
Currently, there were no site improvements scheduled for that. It was to replace in kind on the pad there. The only site improvement would require some seeding if we were have to trench and replace any of the utilities with the size of the line coming into that property.
Okay, because there's a section that perhaps previously was concrete right in front of one of the doors that makes it probably less than accessible for someone in a wheelchair. I would assume that would be seen and improved, but if not, I'd be happy to mention that later in the CPV money to put some money inside for some exterior concrete. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you. Mr. Rosas.
Thank you. Good evening, Deputy Mayor and Assembly. My name is Tony Rosas, Manager of Centennial Hall. I'd like to go over our quarterly report. Start off with, we are 100% filled with full-time employees right now. Right now we have myself, Supervisors Jennifer Mingo. We do have 3 building attendants full-time, Harry License, Ariel Miller, and Sonia Briles. At the same time, we're full. We have our 100% for our full-time employees. We're also in the middle of hiring seasonal help as well. As of right now, we have 6 applicants. We have at least 3 confirmed for the visitor center out front. We're still working on a couple more at least. 2 of those are going to be part-time, and they'll be their hours will be kind of fit in where we need them, that kind of thing. And we're trying to hire at least 3 more that are full-time, 40-hour-a-week kind of temps. We also have, it was kind of talked about a little bit, we also have some new positions coming on board that'll be working out of Centennial Hall. That's the pedestrian safety attendants. We're in the process of getting that announcement out, and then we'll be hiring, we're going to try to get at least 4. There's the 2 different types of attendants that we're going to try to hire. We're going to try to hire some that are over 18 and some that are over 16. Right now, we're in that phase where there's a lot of kids that are wanting to work during the summertime. So we are focused on them for visitor center, and then we are going to try, myself and my staff are going to try to hire over 18 if we can, but 16 if we need to. So I think it's important for those positions to have a little bit of, to be able to handle people. So that's one of the things that we're keeping in mind when we're going through this process. Some of the events that we've had here in the last 3 months, actually from the beginning of the year, we've had at least 22 nonprofit meetings. We've had 21 general public meetings, 37 city-sponsored meetings, 82 city meetings, and then of course we've had a couple big concerts along the way since the beginning of the year. Portugal the Man, and we had a big ramshackle coming on. So we've had that so far. Some of the statistics for the building, in total, between January and the end of March, we've had at least 293 auditorium and meeting space bookings from January 1st to the end of March. The way we track our bookings is through nonprofit, general use, the city, and then also commercial and state, federal. And so those are all combined into a big pile, and they have it broken down into percents and that kind of thing. But as of right now, when I compiled this, it was around 293, and it's filling up fast for the summer. Some of the future events that we're having in the building, we have the Rainy Day Bazaar, which is this weekend. We also have the SNEP 50th anniversary that's going to be coming up here real soon. And then, of course, we have the cruise ship season that's coming up. Our first cruise ship is going to be, I believe, the 28th of April. And that'll kick off the season. Looking at the ship schedule, the one that they have down at, I think Visit Sitka has it as well. As of right now, we have 376 port calls with some of the bigger ships. That's not really taken into account for a lot of the visitors that come in on aircraft or are staying at the lodges and that kind of thing. So it's going to be a big season this year again. I'm looking at probably we're going to have the same kind of season we had last year, so it's going to be pretty busy this year as well. As far as permits, we have all 15 permits sold for the vendors out front as of right now. We also have 3 other permits sold for storage for their tours. So there are still a couple that can be used for out back. Budget-wise, the building right now is at 68% of the operating budget for fiscal year '25. We do have a couple different items that we do keep in the budget every year, and that is we have a maintenance contract with Dimensional Communications. That is the company that originally put in all the equipment that we're using today. Along with that maintenance agreement or maintenance contract we have with them, we get 2 maintenance trips every year. And during those trips, it's a upkeep and a maintenance. They go through all of our systems. Along the year, we identify any glitches, anything that we have, microphones, pretty much everything, the audio and video stuff. And then along with that also, we have telephone support throughout the year as well. Some of the future projects we have for the building, one of the things that we've touched base with already, there's a young lady that is working for the school district, and we had talked, and we're going to get that the floor done in the auditorium, the stage floor, and also we are going to be redoing the floor, the actual tile floor in the auditorium as well. Let's see, let's go back through here. No. Any questions?
Tony, I was wondering on the deployment of the pedestrian team, could you just kind of like express what you envision their mission to be during the day, or like a specific scenario, or how it's going to, you know, tighten stuff up?
Sure, the program is brand new. We were just, as of right now, I think we're still kind of really developing what that scenario is going to look like. What we envision right now is, depending on how many we are able to hire, how many, and depending on cruise ship level, I know that right out here at the end of the walkway, right by the road, if we have 1, that's what they'll be. If we have 2, they'll be spread out on each driveway, kind of helping people, reminding people not to jaywalk, or showing people where the crosswalks are, that kind of thing. If we have more than that, we're going to try to deploy downtown. I'm not sure exactly which avenues or which areas those are going to be. That would be maybe an Amy thing for planning. Like I said, we're still in the works of developing the whole thing. So, yeah.
Hey, Tony. Question for you. Later on tonight, we're looking at approving our budget, and part of our budget for the coming year, starting July 1,
Yes.
is increasing fees here at Harrigan Centennial Hall by 20%. Can you talk a little bit about that? Like, when will that start? How will that work? New bookings, old bookings, application of?
Well, one of my proposals, when I was asked to get the numbers, run the numbers, is for 10% and 20%. And I think it's important to, let me rephrase that. I ran the numbers for 10%, and what I would like to see happen, and this is a discussion that we'll have, of course, is start with 10%. And then within the next couple of years, maybe move to a 20%. But how I envision that implementation would be, as far as scheduling-wise, on the day that we say it's going to happen is the day that I'll instruct my crew that from that day forward, we're going to annotate the reservations book for anybody calling after that day, with the idea of that we're going to let them know what the rates increases are, and then we'll go forward from there. But everybody that has reservations from now until that, well, from now, it might even go into next year, will be on that original rate. Yep.
So I'm hearing new bookings after July 1 is what I'm hearing, is when the increased
Yes.
rates would become effective. Okay,
Yes.
Thank you.
Yep.
One more question.
Okay.
Audio-visual upgrades.
Yes.
That has happened or is happening. An update on that, please, because that's pretty
Sure.
exciting.
Along the way on this last trip, from Dimensional, when they got here, he was here for a week. One of the things that we were trying to do was upgrade our Zoom capability in a different room. We weren't able to do that this trip, but that is something that we're going to be working on as well. And like I said earlier, a lot of the glitches that we've encountered along the way, is handled by them. He brings us along, during the year, we always send back equipment that needs to get fixed. So he brings that kind of stuff, and we send home with him equipment that has broke and then that needs to be fixed. So that's one of the things that he does. He also breaks down on his computer. He'll go through our system to see if any glitches. Sometimes, like this TV here, for instance, it was on that panel there. There was something going on with the panel that wasn't allowing it to switch over. So little stuff like that along the way is what he does during his trip. But there's normally, a lot of times during the year, we'll give him a call and say, hey, you know what, we're right in the middle of a meeting and something's going on. Hey, can you help us through this and that kind of thing. So they're invaluable. They're invaluable to what we do here. So
We always think technology just happens, but it's important to know that there's a team behind it that keeps us
Yes,
all
ma'am.
operating. So
Yeah.
thank you for that. But no new big features to report, but everything's
none at the moment, no.
moving smoothly. Thank you.
Yes.
Any other questions for Mr. Rosas? Thank you. All righty, we are now at persons to be heard for public participation on any item off of the agenda, not to exceed 3 minutes per individual. Is there any public comment for items off the agenda? If so, please come forward and state your first and last name for the record. All righty, moving on. We are now at the consent agenda consisting of items A and B. Would anyone like to pull either item? If not, may I have a motion, please?
I move to approve the consent agenda consisting of item A, approve liquor license renewal applications for Pioneer Liquor, Inc., DBA Pioneer Bar and Pioneer Liquor Store at 216 Catlyan, and item B, approve the Health Needs and Human Services Commission 2025 goals.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. Before we take public comment, I would like to invite, no, sorry, never mind. It wasn't pulled. Never mind, forget that. All right, Sarah.
All right, on the motion to approve the consent agenda consisting of items A and B, Mr. Yestad,
Yes.
Mr. Mosier,
Yes.
Mr. Celine,
Yes.
Ms. Carlson,
Yes.
and Mr. Pike.
Yes.
The motion passes 5-0.
Sorry about that. All right, item C. Per code, this item is to come to the assembly no later than the second regular assembly meeting in March each year. Obviously, we're in April. Staff scheduled the item for the March 25th agenda. However, the meeting adjourned before this item was addressed. So this is discussion, direction, decision on the CPV tax fund balance. We're going to turn it over to Mr. Vincent.
All right, good evening. I'm going to give a quick intro. Tonight, the city is seeking direction from the Assembly in alignment with Sitka General Code Section 4.55.030. As the acting municipal administrator for tonight's meeting, I have the obligation to formally inform the Assembly of the projected balance for the CPV excise tax fund. That balance currently is projected for $2,794,834.90. Additionally, in alignment with Sitka General Code, the city is seeking some direction from the Assembly. Given the preference for potentially utilizing the funds, there are three primary routes that can be taken. The first one, you may direct the administrator to pursue special assembly projects with the fund. The second one, you may opt to retain the balance for future initiatives. And then the third, as the assembly, you may direct the administrator to initiate a call for public proposals. So that's what we're seeking direction on tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so this is a process. You've got a paper here that gives you some ideas of what we could do, but this is, I'm not, from what I understand from what Sarah says, it's not necessary that we all have a motion if there's a consensus that we have towards a particular direction. Oh, you want a motion? Got to make up her mind. Oh. See, I'm just getting confused, sorry. Okay, sorry, we'll do a motion after we discuss it. Mr. Moak.
I'll just say my thoughts on this. There's a lot of options to do things with. I will be flexible and very interested to hear what other people have to say, but my current thought was, right off the bat, is to save it for larger scale projects and or uncover unanticipated needs that might pop up, considering we're in, a few uncertain times about events coming up, so I wouldn't mind having a little more cash in the bank, but welcome to hear other people's thoughts.
JJ.
I agree with that mostly. I think $2 million is a lot of cash in the bank. That is very particular in which we can spend it on. So there are, like I kind of did some foreshadowing with talking to Mark earlier, there are some specific projects that I think we could add some CPV money to, and that being that Crescent Harbor restroom exterior, kind of the idea of an exterior plaza. So currently, a person walking along the seawalk has to do a little drill team move dance to get to the restroom door. Like there's a 90-degree turn, a second 90-degree turn, a third 90-degree turn, and then another 90-degree turn to get into the restroom. And perhaps we can simplify that and make it a little more streamlined by just kind of filling in all of those turns with just a larger area of concrete. Then that allows, for the group that is also with that individual, because most people, when they're cruising, aren't doing it alone. So kind of a waiting area outside, perhaps some benches, and make it look more like a restroom facility. I think now it often gets mistaken for kind of a utility shed. So with the improvements of the interior, I think some exterior improvements could also be a good use of these CPV funds. So I think that's a potential there. Also, the Crescent Park picnic shelter roofs are kind of deteriorating to a degree where they're not providing shelter. I think that could get replaced with whatever material is being utilized for the roof on the restrooms. And that's just along our waterfront here, that I'm looking at out the window here from Centennial Hall. I think that wouldn't be more, that would be less than 100,000, and we have, 2 million as an option here. And then with the biggest portion of this fund balance, to look at those larger scale projects with unanticipated needs, particularly in the area of Centennial Hall, our lightering facilities, and this idea of this longer term goal with Lincoln Street improvements, both where the downtown buildings are, but then also here from Lake Street towards Totem Park. There's both of those are listed in the capital improvement program for being scoped for replacement. And if the surface treatments can be looked at with CPV money, I think we'd have a good, robust program. Utility costs for what's underground, and then some CPV general fund, maybe a mix of visitor enhancement fund too for the above ground look and feel. And also, I've scoped from the list of things that we've funded this year currently, and perhaps if there's any increases with the Centennial Hall cedar trim and lamb beam refinishing, when we were putting an extra 25 to that project that was previously done, if there's any additional unforeseens in there, taking it from CPV, if there's any additional unforeseens with the high load dock right out front here, and any of the other Crescent Harbor projects that are currently on the list, but working their way towards the top. think CPV could be a good avenue for those, future larger scale projects with unanticipated needs. That was a lot, and that did cover 2 different sections. If I need to make it any more, concise, I'm happy to, but that was mainly just for discussion.
I'm compelled to say this on the comment of our waterfront, and to put it from my neighborhood's perspective, stuff like the Blarney Stone with a fake history that people see every day, and what the history really is of the Blarney Stone to the Kicksati and everybody here, of historical reference. And I'm trying to find the article of the Alaska Sportsman out of the 50s where Mrs. Sarvella invented the Blarney Stone, and, just to try to have something done with it. But it cuts really deep, and particularly with the Baranoff statue, that there was an effort to have Baranoff sitting on the Blarney Stone, which, from my neighborhood's perspective, was pouring salt in the wounds. And it's just an acknowledgement of the fact of what was a historical cornerstone to build the vocational training school. And when that curriculum stopped being taught, that land was supposed to go back to the Kicksati. Of course, there's no record of that. It's only oral history, but back to our waterfront to be more inclusive, kind of straightening up some of the Hollywood aspects. Thank you.
JJ.
Sorry, I forgot to mention if there's any unforeseen increases for this Seawalk Phase 2 project. That's connecting the base of the bridge out and around to that lightering facility. I mentioned lightering at Crescent Harbor, also that connection out there. Any unanticipated overages perhaps could be CPV. Thank you.
All right, I've been informed we need a motion. And it sounds kind of like the center one, retaining and for unanticipated needs. It seems to be one that fits that. However, we can combine them if there's a special project that you wanted to identify, for example. That can also work.
Is there any way we could use some of the money, like, to lobby to get the law changed? And, like,
I doubt it.
What if we did the middle one and then add an addendum where we put like 100,000, 150,000 for future projects to be determined, that some of these things that have been suggested, we could figure those out later. I don't know, it's just a thought.
Sarah, we can make more than one motion, correct? Yeah, how about we just make 2 motions?
Like which ones in what order?
The first one on the list for the specific projects I listed, and then the rest of it for the rest of it.
I think you can do that in one motion.
You just do it in one. I move to direct the municipal administrator to pursue blah, blah, blah project, and retain the remaining fund balance, then blah, blah, blah.
Is it advised that I put a monetary value to Crescent Harbor Restrooms Exterior Plaza, or could I just say pursue that as a project? What's your thought, Ron?
I think that the more detail you that the body can give will definitely give the city better direction. So.
This is challenging for me because most of my design work is done through imaging, but now I'll have to put a square footage or put a monetary amount to it. Okay. I move to direct the municipal administrator to pursue special projects with the Crescent Harbor Restroom Exterior Plaza and Crescent Park Picnic Shelter re-roofing for the estimated project value of $100,000, and retain the future balance, the fund balance for future large-scale projects and/or cover unanticipated needs.
Second.
It's been moved,
150?
it's been
100,000.
100.
been moved and seconded to set aside $100,000 for a special project around the Crescent Harbor bathroom plaza and re-roofing the shelters, and retain the rest of it for future large-scale projects and/or to cover unanticipated needs such as the seawalk, for example. Thank you. Is there any public comment? Assembly deliberation. Sarah?
I don't think I can do as good of a job as you did, Tim. But the motion before you is to direct the municipal administrator to pursue special assembly projects, the Crescent Harbor exterior plaza, and then re-roofing of the shelters in the amount of $100,000, and then retain the fund balance for future larger scale projects and/or to cover unanticipated needs. Mr. Yestad?
Yes.
Ms. Carlson?
Yes.
Mr. Mosier?
Yes.
Mr. Pike?
Yes.
And Mr. Celine?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Deputy Mayor, given that these items might take a little longer, can we take a early break?
Works for me. All right. How about 5 minutes? Okay, I think we are all here again. We are moving on to new business, first reading, item E. May I have a motion, please?
I move to approve ordinance 2025-07 on first reading, adopting budgets and capital improvement plan for the general fund, internal service funds and special revenue funds for the fiscal year July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2026.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to adopt ordinance 25-07, budgets and capital improvement plan for general fund, internal service funds, special revenue funds. Before we take public comment, I'd like to invite our new finance director, Brooke, up to give us an introduction.
Brooke Falskank, Finance Director. I did not have an introduction prepared, but I think that we've done a lot of work. Melissa's worked really hard on this budget, and the Assembly members have put a lot of time in on this already, and so I'm here to answer whatever is needed as best I can. I'll ask you to have a little bit of patience with me. This is only my second week. And, you know, the bulk of the work was done by Melissa, so I will get answers for you. It just might not be right away.
Thank you. We'll have you back up when we have questions, as I assume we will, after public comment. Thank you. Is there any public comment on this motion? If so, please come forward and state your name for the record. All right, we are to the Assembly deliberation. Mr. Mosier.
As everyone knows, we've gone through these with special meetings for the past several months with detailed analysis and presentations by the finance staff. And we've all agreed on the basic parameters for this. So at this point, this being presented to us, in my opinion, is more of a formality because the time that we had to hash out the budgets was before, and we don't have a lot of time left to actually approve these. I'm really grateful for all the work that the Assembly and the finance team has done to prepare these. I think it's a good budget. Yeah, I think that's it. I'm in favor of it.
I was counting on Tor to tell us it was a living thing and we're going to change it. But he's not here today, so I was counting on that.
I can say that if you want to. It's
Thank
a living
you.
thing.
Ms. Carlson.
Thank you, Tim. Yes, as the budget looks great. The work from finance, fabulous. This ordinance is approving two things. It's adopting the budget and the capital improvement. It says here plan, but I'm pretty sure in charter it's called program. So I by default call it a program, but I guess I have to call it a plan because that's what's here as the motion. So my questions and concerns are regarding that capital improvement plan piece. Budget's great, thank you. So the capital improvement program is, I think it starts on page 20, maybe 33 in the 23 in the draft budget. In the draft budget, it's called the draft consolidated operating budget. Is that questions for you, Ron, as acting administrator, or would that be more for Mark, or who would I ask my questions on for the capital improvement plan portion of this?
I will take a shot, and Brooke, please back me up if you can. As far as I know, and as far as I understand and have interpreted this, the capital improvement plan, it does line up very closely with what you see on page 23, 24, if we're looking at the same thing here. We often refer to that as like the mid-long range plan. It lays out your deferred maintenance and a 5 to 6 year execution plan, and then anything further out than that is all grouped together in the long range column that you see there.
Okay, thank you. What I see here looks great, but I have concerns about what I don't see here. And what I don't see is incorporating the schools into this. We've taken back on maintenance this past year, and we did a very robust, through our maintenance department, and asset management of looking at then, I believe there was about $30 million of scoped work in our school facilities, and I just think that would be applied. And I'm sure there's a reason for it not being here. So any
Yes, so looking on page 24, the area that you're calling into question would be included, again, my experience would be included into the building maintenance area. It looks like a lot of that has been grouped up. This does look slightly different than what I'm familiar with, I guess, but yeah, I don't have a very good answer for you on that one.
Okay. Does anyone else in the room know where the schools are located in our capital improvement plan? Hey, Brooke, thank you.
Come on back up.
Brooke Falsgang, Finance Director. So I do know that having this type of plan for the school district is a brand new thing for the city. So I think what happened here is it was just not something that we thought of adding because it hadn't been in there before, and it is so new.
Okay, so it just needs to get folded in. It's the next ingredient on the recipe, and it just hadn't come up to the top yet. Okay.
Yes.
So with that, I think there's more edits to be made to this capital improvement program. So I guess I'd like to amend the motion to give that its chance to be included. So I'd like to amend the motion to strike the words "and capital improvement plan."
There's a motion and
From the motion and all other places where it's referenced, because it's not ready yet.
so your motion is what specifically? To amend it, you need a motion.
My move to remove the words "and capital improvement plan" from the motion and everywhere included in the supporting documents.
It's been moved and seconded to remove the capital improvement plan language from the title and other places within these documents. Is there a second? Seeing none, motion will fail.
Thank you. So unfortunately, I'll need to vote no on this today because the capital improvement plan is not sufficient. To be missing $30 million of scoped projects is just, it doesn't meet my burden of proof for a document that is ready for assembly adoption.
Further assembly deliberation?
I need a timeout, I guess. You're missing $30 million of you sharp penciling it and the words capital improvement plan. By saying that, that's letting it go forward without acknowledging the $30 million isn't there.
it's there in the budget, it's just not there in the plan. And I think there's been, I guess, a little bit more detail and backstory here. It seems as if our planning program has been adopted into budgeting in a kind of subservient way, and that's just not how we should be doing capital improvement planning. And because it's not getting the attention it needs, we're missing things like $30 million of school needs. And I've mentioned this along the process this year and in previous years, and finally we're just hitting the point where I cannot say yes to the passing along the buck of the capital improvement program when it's just not getting its respect.
If I could help you, Scotty, the money is there. I think I don't want this getting out that we're just missing $30 million. We are not missing $30 million. The money that we're voting on a budget, and yes, the capital plan is included. Because I'm willing to vote for this because just because they don't have that sheet in there with the capital improvement plan, it has been included in several of the budget meeting presentations. So we know what it's going to go for. We're approving the money to go to the schools, and then and we're also improving the money to do this. I think my view, JJ's contention is with the capital improvement plan. In my opinion, time is short. We've gone through this. We've hashed it out. We've seen what the capital improvement plan is for the school. It's not unknown. It's not here. I mean, it may not be in this particular PDF, but we've seen it. We know what it is, and the money's not missing. There's zero money missing.
I do, sorry, excuse me. I just want to clarify something because I feel like I didn't explain this very well earlier. So there are two things to point out. We do have a long-term plan that lays out a 5-year projected series of costs for each year. The budget that we have set up for this year, which I think might be getting confused a little bit, is on page 29. Page 29 does lay out, it's looks like $1.9-ish million worth of capital projects for the school district. That is for the FY26 school year. So, I'm sorry, FY26 fiscal year. So that's to start on July 1st. The 5-year plan, it looks like that is the thing that's kind of in question right now, and those items look like they've just been kind of grouped up. The budget sums are probably somewhat accurate. It's hard to tell because it's about $100 million worth of total maintenance, but that incorporates all building maintenance. So,
But this item here that we're voting on is this year's budget, not
correct.
a 5-year plan. It's this year's budget and this year's money.
Deputy Mayor,
Go ahead.
Brooke might have some additional comments.
Brooke Falsking, Finance Director. So I don't have a lot to add, but I have something that might help a little bit. So the long-term plan is required by charter, but it's more to let the assembly and the community know what's coming. It doesn't mean that there are $30 million worth of appropriations that you would be approving by approving this budget. It's just a plan to look at, doesn't commit us to spending funds in those ways.
Yeah, I think you said what I was going to say. These are identified needs. $30 million worth at least of identified needs with the school district, which is what the capital improvement program plan is designed to do. It's designed to identify what the needs are around the municipality, and then as monies become available or grants become available, we apply them to those needs. And in this circumstance, there's not $30 million available for the school district right now. $1.9 million is what we're going to spend on it in the upcoming year, which is in this budget. And I think, if I understand JJ, Ms. Carlson's concern, it is whether or not, so we're not required by code to pass the capital improvement program as an ordinance. We are required to pass it at least as a resolution. An ordinance is a much stronger way of doing that. Putting it into this thing does not commit us to spending $30 million on anything at the school district or any of the other things in that plan. It is just acknowledging that a plan exists, and this is what we're doing. And so, your concern is valid, obviously. Rolling it in does kind of, I mean, in some ways it would be, maybe we'd be better served by separating the two and passing them individually. But in this case, what's in front of us is to combine them together, and it's something that we have been doing for the last little bit here. So, and an ordinance, correct me if I'm wrong, has more weight to it than a resolution. So we are acknowledging that this is our plan at this point in time, and it's in front of the public in terms of what we're interested in doing and our needs as a community. And as such, that's why we're passing it as it is. So I'm also in favor of doing it that way because I think an ordinance is a much better way of putting forward the stamp of the assembly saying, yes, these are the things that need to be done, and here's what we think are important. Sure, absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you, Brooke.
Thank you, Brooke.
Article 11 in charter is where it talks about passing of the budget and passing of the capital improvement program. So if we all wish to read that and understand more what our forefathers thought we should be up to, that's the place to read. And it's the combined action here which gets problematic for me because we refer to this mainly as the budget, but we kind of forget that piece, which in charter seems to be as important, if not more important, because it's that 5-year outlook versus that 1-year expenditure piece. So because of the edits, the updates needed for that capital improvement plan in this combined ordinance, that's where my problem is, and that's where I am going to need to say no tonight.
And Scotty, I know that you're concerned here. The numbers are what we're voting on for the most part, and yes, the capital improvement plan is in there, and we're approving on that. But we've been going over this for months. If a strategic plan, and it's my opinion, I understand JJ's concerns. They're valid. I do agree they're valid. But if there's a strategic change like the way we do it, right now at this moment is not the time to do it. It's my opinion. It's after these budgets are passed, if she wants to get a sponsor and she wants to talk and maybe, to get somebody to direct the administrator to do it differently next year, that's the time. But now is not the time for that. That's my opinion.
Thank you. I just worried about morning coffee at the P bar with all the pundits listening to us, leave 30 million left on there. That's where I said I better say something, my words will be.
No.
And just final clarification, that money is, Mr. Vincent has alluded, is in there. It's just rolled into the municipal buildings because the schools are now part of the municipal building group. So, further deliberation. Sarah.
All right, on the motion to approve ordinance 2025-07 on first reading, Ms. Carlson?
Unfortunately, no.
Mr. Yestad?
Yes.
Mr. Celine?
Yes.
Mr. Mosier?
Yes.
And Mr. Pike?
Yes.
The motion passes 4-1 on first reading.
All righty, we are at item F. May I have a motion, please?
I approve to approve ordinance 2025-08 on first reading, adopting the budget and capital improvement plan for the enterprise funds for the fiscal year July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2026, amending the rates in Title 15 Public Utilities of the Sitka General Code, and adopting mortgage rates and other harbor fees.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to adopt ordinance 25-08, adopting the budget and capital improvement plan for enterprise funds for fiscal year July 1, 2025 to June 30th, 2026, amending rates, Title 15 Public Utilities of the Sitka General Code, and adopting mortgage rates and other harbor fees. Our finance director, if she would like, can offer us another introduction.
Brooke, I think I might have forgot to tell you about this part. So sorry.
And the test factor.
Brooke Falsking, Finance Director. We're all doing a little bit of learning, I think. it did sound optional. I don't really think I have anything specific to add. I'll give another compliment to Melissa Haley for the hard work that she put into this, and then also the hard work of all the other staff at the city that it takes to execute a budget like this.
Thank you. We'll call you back up if we have some more questions after public comment. We are now at public comment on item F.
For the record, my name is Valerie Nelson. I'm asking you to please vote no on this budget. The increases in user fees are getting way too far out of line with what quite a few of us can afford. Many of you need to open your eyes to what is occurring as far as increases in the number of employees as well as their salary increases. Under the current administrator's tenure, we have a city staff that has increased in numbers, 152.87 in fiscal year budget year 2020 to 182.37 for the upcoming year. We hear so much about transparency. However, I'm hoping that some of you have noticed in this budget I'm hoping that some of you have noticed that compared to the budget for the previous fiscal year, this year has no pay rate per position, making it very difficult to compare actual dollar costs. Not at all transparent to me. Several calls were made to the finance department today to inquire about the reasoning for this. However, every number I dialed just went to voicemail. I spent several hours trying to calculate the dollar value of the additional positions from the prior year budget to this year, and my numbers reflect an approximate annual $2.8 million increase. This is not sustainable. Please grab some common sense. It does not go without notice that since our esteemed administrator was brought on board, that our effective kilowatt hour rate has increased to about 23.3 cents for the summer rates. Garbage has gone from 35.10 in 2020 to 47.11 this year. Water has increased from 49.45 to 63.12, and sewer rent went from 62.93 to 88.03. This is a total increase of $50.88 per month, and that's $600 a year. I'll let you know that for those of us that are on lower and/or fixed incomes, your increases are becoming unbearable. And Mr. Mosier, you may have hashed this out for months and months and months, but this was advertised as a public hearing. I realize that many public hearings, you people come in with your minds made up, but a lot of us don't have social media, we don't get the newspaper, so we're not aware of all your months and months of deciding what the heck you're gonna foist off on us as consumers and ratepayers. Thank you for your time, and I can't see the timer here, so I don't know what time I have left. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Austin Cranford. I want to agree with Valerie Nelson. Even when we have community members that are in their homes over the winter with their heat turned all the way down or even off, bundled up in clothing, they're still paying $400 to $500 a month for electricity. For electricity, they're not really even using. We have a fishing fleet and a ocean fleet in general that has had we'll say unsustainable fishing seasons that are now expected to pay not only higher mortgage rates, but also possibly have to pay more on a expensive haul out. There is a point where the community is going to be unable to pay these rates if we haven't already reached or exceeded that point. This is further compounded when not to throw shade on any of the nonprofits, but there are several entities in town that are exempt from property taxes and other types of taxes that, if they were not exempt, would bring in millions of dollars of revenue into the city. So I would like to see the city and the assembly carefully reevaluate how these rates are affecting the community. You can't squeeze blood out of a stone, and if people continue to leave, where are you going to get your revenue from? Thank you.
Thank you. Further public comment? Back to the assembly. Mr. Mosher.
Hi, Mr. Deputy Mayor. Mine is gonna be a little longer, so bear with me, please. I was gonna mention the rates even before we had public comment. I am in support of this, and I will vote yes on it. But I wanted to address those who are listening or who may listen to this. It's my apologies that I haven't said this earlier in the budget process. I understand that, you know, when you look at that that sample utility bill, monthly bill, like it's scary. I've always felt that yes, rates are too high. It's one of the bigger reasons why I ran for assembly. I had this vision of getting us so wealthy that we could subsidize it for people, but we did that 1 year for 1 month for $300, and it cost us over $1 million to do that. I'm going to approve this, and it does break my heart, and it does bring me frustration, and I understand that there's a lot of people who this is very hard to do, and I'm very sorry. If I could just give some context, this is what I've learned from being on here, is the way it goes is the days of the high oil revenue for the state, and Ted Stevens getting lots of monies for the state. And the state built infrastructure projects throughout the whole, all the state, in towns, cities, like these, like the dams, major infrastructure projects that the local populations at the time could not have afforded to build, when they didn't have the tax base, and we don't have a tax base now. So when the money started going out, we receive hardly anything from the state unless it's through a pass-through federal grant. They don't really support us anymore. So at this point now, not Sitka's not alone, we're on our own. And so we have now, after 30, 40, 50 years from the time those projects were built, dams, all these things all over the state, now the bill is due to repair them, and the state is no longer here to help us. And so it is on the cities to pay for it. And I noticed that when I was going to run for assembly, and I learned about this stuff. It's very frustrating. My personal goal has been to try to do three things: get grants from the feds, increase economic activity, and find savings with the city. I do believe we have found savings, and we're pursuing federal grants and receiving them right now. And we do have a robust economy, which is very important. And it's, in my mind, we use that to help, pay for projects so we have less tax burden on people. But even with all these good things, it's still very expensive and very difficult. And we still have these high costs. As far as the utility rates, I was diehard against it. We didn't do a rate increase 1 year, but then, I had a wise Sitkan sit me down and help me understand that we have to do cost of living, increases to the fund. Otherwise, we won't be able to pay for it. We won't be able to fix these things. We're in the middle of updating Green Lake, and we still haven't finished it. We still have more funding to pay for. So it's a really difficult and frustrating situation for all of us in town and all throughout Alaska. It's, in a way, it's almost unbearable because we're fighting to maintain our current quality of life, and at the same time, when I'm talking about quality of life, I'm talking about having power to the city or sewers that flush and things like that, let alone having the ability to turn on your lights and have them on for a time. I pay an insane amount for my utilities. I'm grateful that my wife and I are both employed, but I know what it's like to struggle and be on public support and have to apply for the Alaska Heating Grant Program, which is available to people. It is a bloody, horrible, trying struggle. And I'm saying this to try to help people so people will have a little bit of an understanding. It doesn't make it better. I'm just trying to bring some understanding. And as far as the employees, a public comment was made about that. there is an increase in the budget for the employees, and that is because we had a rate study done, and we're budgeting in to help raise those wages. And, you know, myself of a couple years ago, I'd say hell no, but after seeing what happened when, there was a shift somehow where a lot of the people retired, and then we didn't have a lot of new bodies to come in and fill these positions. And so we were at a place just about 2-3 years ago where we had all this money coming in, but we had nobody to work on these projects. And these are all, when I say these are important projects, like the Hearst Monastery repair of the sewers and everything else like that. And there's all over town that we're doing these things. So we've had to increase a little bit by bit to try to retain employees. Now that we've raised wages, I believe we have been able to fill positions much better. So it's like this give and take. If you don't pay the employees as much as they, because the going rate, then they're not there. Then they can't do the things that you need to do to get done so we can have these other things. And it's this big vicious circle. And I do have to admit, I feel like sometimes we take 1 step forward and 3 steps back. And it's very frustrating and very trying. And I am sorry that this is the case. I wish there was another way. I wish there was another way where we did not have to increase rates. But unfortunately, that's where we are. And I just wanted to share that context of why I'm voting for this. And I think there's no one on this board or the assembly that really wants to do this, but this is to try to make sure that we have, continue to have electricity, things like that. And that's all I have to say for now.
Mr. Yostad.
Yeah, kind of following Kevin's message here. Obviously, increasing rates is not really my end goal by any means. But being cognizant of the environment that we live in these days, costs of doing business continue to rise, and that also means that those costs are being put onto the city at the same time. So in order to keep these services well maintained and operational, we do need to generate more revenue, and that's through rate increases. I would like to point out, when I got on the Harbor Commission 9 years ago, the rebuild estimate for Eliason Harbor was around $35 million. I just looked it up in this capital plan. It's now at $58 million. And that's in a 9-year time span. So yes, harbor rates are gonna have to increase to do that, because I don't think we will be seeing much assistance from the state. I went to the Fisheries Task Force and lobbied to increase the harbor matching grant fund program. It was received well there, but it doesn't sound like it was received well with the rest of the legislature. So yeah, we're gonna have to do this on our own. I don't think we will be getting a lot of state help. Coming from the construction world, doing a lot of utilities, seeing a lot of our utilities that we have underneath our streets, we have a lot of aged infrastructure that needs to be replaced. I think we had a good example tonight of, Lake Hearst and Kincaid? Yeah, Monastery. I have seen those utilities. They are poor. And here we had a couple bids come in, a couple $1 million over our engineer estimates. I think the engineer estimate was in 2021. Oh, okay, updated in November. Okay, sorry. But either way, costs are more than anticipated, and I think we're going to see that in a lot of places. Something that I've seen over my 3 years here on the assembly is how many times the water line under HPR breaks. And knowing that the condition of that water line, the next time that highway gets repaved, I foresee us needing to replace that water line. All that means we need more capital to do these projects, to replace our aging infrastructure. So, I've seen where our capital is, and what sort of outlays we're going to need to have in the next couple decades. And, sadly, we have to generate more revenue. And I just don't think we're going to get a lot of state help at this point or federal help. So sadly, we're going to have to do it on our own, which means utility rate increases. So not very comfortable for anyone. I'm right with everyone else having to pay the same rates. So yeah, I don't like doing it, but I think to keep our services at the levels that everyone expects of us, we have to continue to generate revenue so we can continue operating. So, not happy about it, but I'm going to pass it.
Not happy about it either. Nobody from the city observed the pilings at Elias and Harbor being driven to point of refusal that was brought to the table when this dock here at the base of the bridge collapsed with a little bit of a gust with a little love boat tied up to it. What Austin was saying earlier about being charged $400 to $500 with basically all your power off, and anybody that's put a watt meter up to their power, it doesn't match with their consumption because of the payment schedule. And the enterprise fund is something the electrical enterprise fund is something that I really want to bird dog, because I believe that's why doing a city as a business is wrong, and that's why our infrastructure is only concerned with being in the black. And they used to have $500,000 a year went into transmission lines, $500,000 went into a transformer inventory, and we don't have one now. So Seward, they buy their power from Chugach at 8 cents and sell it to the people of Seward for 22 cents. We got a lot of stuff that's unanswered here in town, and it just compounds on top of people with fixed incomes, and that's why we got to hear from them. But yeah, we got to figure out other ways to pay for stuff, and anyway.
Ms.
Thank you,
Carlson.
Tim. Just to join the refrain, I don't like doing this, but here we are, we have to. Because we're a local municipality, we pass a balanced budget. It's in charter that we do our best to do that. And enterprise funds, rates, services, utilities, those are all part of what we're here to do for this community. As expenses increase, because we're hitting that kind of replacement timeline for a lot of our infrastructure, water, wastewater, electricity. We did some big expansions. All of our wastewater infrastructure was put in, well, arguably all of it, the majority of it was put in, when the treatment plant was put in. And there's a great document on the Public Works website, a full report on, how do we look at this? It was published a couple months ago, or a couple years ago. It says, yep, it's time to replace it all. And we have to pay for that. We can get some loans, we can go to bonding, but that's part of our longer term planning. And there's some unfunded mandates out there too that we have to match and meet. So it's uncomfortable and not a honor and a privilege to increase the rates of utilities here in Sitka, but we have to do it because we have to pay for what we have, and we have to prepare for the future. We can't put that burden on the next generation, or I'm not here as an assembly member to put the burden on the next generation. We need, due to what we say in our strategic plan, we need to take care of this now, and unfortunately, that means increasing rates. So I understand it's a challenge for many fixed income, just people without a lot of spending money to go around. It's unfortunate, but if you have any other ideas, please come to me, and we can maybe incorporate it into next year. But for now, this is where we're at, is increasing rates. That's on the budget side of things. With this being combined between budget and capital improvement program, there's not as many challenges that I find with the capital improvement program for this section of it. The enterprise fund, I have some concerns about how it's written with ranges under electricity. The electric fund, we kind of went away with that, so it seems like it just didn't get updated here in this document. I believe there were some supplemental appropriations that we did for the current fiscal year that changed that around, and how those projects are listed. I believe it's on page 76 of this packet here, the consolidated budget, that shows how we're now looking at electric funds. But those are 3 pages of this very long budget, so that doesn't meet pass that burden of proof for me on inaccuracies on this planning document. So I will be voting yes on this version of it. Unfortunately, it's there's still updates to be needed there. But thank you to all people in finance, all people in the different departments. Getting these enterprise funds through to this point is a huge effort for, let's just say, 75 people of the 180 some that we employ. And it is seen and appreciated, and it's one of the biggest team efforts that I think this town puts forward. So thank you.
Yeah, I think you guys have covered a lot of ground. I would say, since I've been on the assembly, we've had external requirements placed upon several of our utilities that we were not anticipating. For example, we're currently gathering resources for wastewater sterilization because it's a mandate from the federal government that we can no longer do what we've been doing, and we can no longer get a waiver for it. Also, secondary water treatment, secondary water sources, water treatment plants. I mean, we spent millions and millions of dollars. Things that we were not anticipating. I will say something about this year's increases, which I think is one of the reasons why I'm willing to support this at this point in time, and it is that the increases are less than inflation. So, and unfortunately, inflation has been quite hot in the last 3 or 4 years, and we are still trying to get caught up with that. And in order to pay the wages that are required for us to maintain people employed here and living wages, which is exactly what we want to be doing, and to build toward the infrastructure that, as Kevin pointed out, was built with a lot of grant funding, and unfortunately most of it all about the same moment, so there's all kind of coming due at the same time. This is where and as JJ said, this is where we are. So it is below inflation except for the wastewater, due to the fact that we're going to be spending a large capital project sterilizing our effluent so that we can meet that mandate. So yes, not excited, didn't get on the assembly to raise rates on everybody, don't want to do this, but on the other hand, we have a community, we have resources that we need to maintain and keep going forward, and we have people who we need to pay a living wage. And so as a consequence, I also will be supporting this. Further comments? Mr. Mosier.
Sorry, I'm just counting the numbers here. We have we're missing 2 members. Scotty, I know you're probably wavering about this, but as Tor would always recommend, if you're unsure, this is a 2-reading thing. I would encourage you to, even if you're not sure, vote yes this time until so we can pass it to the next meeting, and then we'll have Tor and Stephen on here, and then that would be more full representation, because I'm concerned about having this fail.
On first reading, there's a provision in the charter that the only way this would fail on first reading is if 4 of you vote against it.
Okay, so forget everything I said.
Sarah.
All right, on the motion to approve ordinance 2025-08 on first reading, Mr. Pike?
Yes.
Mr. Mosier?
Yes.
Mr. Celine?
Yes.
Ms. Carlson?
Yes.
And Mr. Yestad?
Yes.
The motion passes 5-0 on first reading.
Okay, we're at item G. May I have a motion, please?
I move to approve ordinance 2025-06 Okay, I'm on the right one. On first reading, amending Title 14, Streets, Sidewalks, and Public Places of the Sitka General Code by amending Chapter 14.05, Public Use of Parks and Recreational Facilities, Land and Trails.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve ordinance 2025-06, amending Title 14, Streets, Sidewalks, and Public Places of the Sitka General Code by amending Chapter 14.05, Public Use of Parks and Recreation Facilities, Land and Trails. Is there any public comment? Oh, I'm sorry. Before public comment, we're going to have our Parks and Recreation Coordinator, Mr. Knox, with an introduction. Thank you.
Hi, good evening, Assembly. Deputy Mayor Pike, Kevin Knox, Parks and Recreation Coordinator. With the creation of the Parks and Recreation Division, our current code outlining the administration of parks, facilities, and other community recreation assets, it's no longer serving our needs effectively. So you have this revision in front of you. The existing regulations reference outdated practices and departmental structures that we don't refer to anymore. Furthermore, we're looking for some expansion of the Parks and Recreation Division to address some of the demands of our facilities and update a framework so it's a little bit more modern and empowers our staff to better serve our community and the public. This ordinance addresses several key areas. First, we're adding a policy section clearly articulating the importance of a robust Parks and Recreation Division for our community. It also clarifies our park and facility activities, defining or extending definitions to include our indoor assets and spaces, and also formalizing our valuable partnership with the Sitka School District, because that's where we operate a lot of our programs. We're also looking to revise our park scheduling and permit procedures. We're redirecting all permit and rental requests to the Parks and Rec Division instead of Public Works, allowing the ability to move towards a more efficient and accessible system by enabling online reservations, which we actually already do for most of our reservations, utilizing the software that we use. It's called RecDesk. This modernization will significantly improve convenience for all of our residents. It also reduces a lot of the burden on our administration and staff time. This update will also clearly codify all fee schedules to be adopted by the Assembly as you adopted last meeting. That helps ensure some accountability and transparency within the implementation of those fees. This ordinance also will establish clear guidelines for the management of our Tom Young cabin or other public use cabins, including specifying a resident requirement and allowing for online reservations of a permit. And within that also, it'll also clearly outline who and how a cabin can be used. I've also crafted it so that it doesn't just apply to Tom Young cabin. It would apply to any public use cabins that the city may in the future own as well. So after public comment, there may be some questions regarding the residency requirement and if it's legally enforceable. Similar questions have come up in the past. So after those questions came up, I got with our municipal attorney, Rachel, to help provide some guidance as we crafted this. And we can discuss some of those details more as those questions come up. But the main justifications around restricting that use or being able to restrict that use to Sitka residents only, if the facility was created and is maintained with local tax money, which it is. If it was limited, it's a limited use facility that can only be used by so many people at one time, and local demand fills that capacity. Currently, that is the case as well. And it was constructed with, and it has always had local priority for reservations, which it has as well, in that there's a local preference in that you have to currently you have to reserve in person. And it's also not a public park that is used for free speech activities. Again, happy to come back up and answer any questions on any of the code provisions there. But yeah, thanks for your time.
Thank you. We'll call you back up when you have questions after public comment. We are now at public comment on item G. Seeing none, assembly deliberation. Ms. Carlson.
Thank you. I've got questions for you. Thank you. Please come back up, Kevin. So this is, excellent, very needed, seeing kind of some of the conflicts that can be avoided with just some clear language. So thank you for all of that. I'm sure you've had some incidents, but also your creative mind can just imagine what could come. So thank you. I know we call out specifically school facilities. I know we also operate Parks and Rec out of the Senior Center.
Correct.
Was there any reason for kind of naming one but not naming the other?
No, while the school facilities are technically a city asset, there's a different relationship there. We do have an established MOA, I believe it is, with Catholic Community Services for the use of that facility. It still is primarily a city asset and something that we control. So it's a little bit different.
Yep. So if I recall back to that document as well, it mainly talks about the kitchen and preparing meals and then the vehicles that park in the back. So programming within that main space there at the Senior Center is very open to us. Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
and we're currently in negotiations right now to update that document because the last time it was updated was like 1987.
Yep. Talks about the paying of telephones and other things that we don't offer others. So fascinating. And then what about like over the boardwalk over other side of the island? I know it's at Baranoff, Warm Springs. It came up in that recreational use plan permitting there. Is there a reason why it's not named here?
That's a full separate section within code.
Okay, great, thank you. We talk about, I believe, during hours, it's, parks close at 10 p.m. And then there's a fine of $250 for a violation. There's no enforcement piece in this. That is just police department action. It's okay. Thank you. Because there was in part of the early section of this under that new category policy, it talks about ensuring public safety. So I wanted to make sure that there wasn't any ticket book that you get to walk around.
Yeah, no, Parks and Rec staff are not going to be issued any ticket books.
Thank you.
Thank you. We don't want them.
You don't want it?
No.
So just another general question about your staffing. Does any of this increase staff time or create any burden on staff, or is it mainly there to streamline things and decrease staff time?
Mainly to streamline things and decrease staff time.
Okay.
The addition of administering the Tom Young or any public use cabins will increase a little bit of our administrative burden. But like I said, the online portion of that should alleviate some of that. And right now, Public Works does all the administration of Tom Young cabin, and they do it all by paper. So putting this online will alleviate the overall burden to the city probably.
Great, thank you. I see it's, speaking of Tom Young, a 90 days. I believe currently it's 60 days, is that correct? It's currently 90 days?
Yeah, we didn't change that.
Okay, so there's no big hiccup here that we'll have to.
The only thing that really changes within that is that it would go online as an option. We would be able to provide in person as well, although not as much as Public Works, though Public Works still, as from that desk, could still offer the in-person registrations there. The other piece would be that we would adopt the new fee structure that you adopted previously, because right now it's written into code as $40 per night. It removes the specific call-out for the amount and puts it into the fee schedule.
Great, thank you. So then the only numbers in here, the only monetary are those,
The fines and
are
fees.
the fines and
Yeah.
violations. Okay, thank you.
Other assembly comments, deliberation? Thank you. Questions? I see it as a step forward in clarifying for everyone what Parks and Recs is doing and how it does it. So I'm in favor of this change to the language. Further? Sarah?
All right, on the motion to approve ordinance 2025-06 on first reading, Mr. Mosier,
Yes.
Mr. Pike,
Yes.
Mr. Yestad,
Yes.
Mr. Celine,
Yes.
and Ms. Carlson.
Yes,
Motion passes 5-0 on first reading.
Okay, we have a couple more left. You can either take a break or punch through.
I don't need a break.
All right, we'll keep moving. We are on item H.
I move to accept the donation of an air floor from the Sitka Recreation Foundation for Parks and Rec.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to adopt, adopt ordinance 2025-060, accepting the donation of air floor from the Sitka Recreation Foundation for Parks and Recreation. Mr. Knox. I probably messed that up somewhere along the way.
Evening again, Assembly. Kevin Knox, Parks and Recreation Coordinator. The air floor was donated, as the memo outlines, by the Sitka Recreation Foundation. It was something that was requested by our gymnastics instructors to help deliver program and increase safety for program participants. And something that the Recreation Foundation took on as a priority project for them. Through donations from a few different avenues there, they were able to secure the funds and place the order, including some donated shipping costs from AML and Arrowhead Transfer. The floor, as it outlines, it's a 40 by 25 foot air floor. It's a multi-chamber floor that, when inflated to a certain PSI, acts as almost like spring floor. It's a pretty fabulous piece of equipment, although it does weigh 600 pounds, so it's a beast to move around. Yeah. So, but in fact, the floor is already at Keat. We worked with the PE teacher there, Miss Sue Ross, to kind of reorganize, and clean out the storage closets there and increase some of the storage space. And we're able to easily fit that into the storage area. Yeah, it's already been enjoyed in use up there. So. It's pretty fabulous piece of equipment, and we're really thankful to the foundation and its board and the donors that help supply it.
All right, we'll call you back if we have some more questions. Thank you. Any public comment on this motion? Seeing none. Assembly comments or deliberation?
Just comment, just wholehearted thank you to the Sitka Recreation Foundation. That's really an amazing thing, and we're very fortunate that we have a community that cares about it, its people like that, and would raise the funds and do that. I'm really grateful.
Yeah, I mean, Kevin kind of stole my thunder there, but yeah, no, just really happy to have people who are willing to make these sort of donations to the community, and definitely happy to accept it.
Sarah?
All right, on the motion to accept the donation of the air floor, Mr. Celine?
Yes.
Ms. Carlson?
Yes.
Mr. Pike?
Yes.
Mr. Yestad?
Yes.
And Mr. Mosher?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0 on item H.
All right, item I. Okay, Sarah. I read
So
my
this is discussion decision on rescheduling the May 27th regular assembly meeting to May 29th, and I need to use this room for the election on the 28th, so I need to set up on the 27th, so that's why I'm asking that we reschedule.
Ms. Carlson.
Sounds good.
Thanks.
Happy to.
Thank you.
Any concerns? Okay. The room is yours. Okay, we are now at persons to be heard for public participation on any item on or off the agenda, not to exceed 3 minutes per individual. Is there any public comment?
Good evening, Austin Cranford again. I just wanted to mention during the discussion of the commercial passenger vessel tax fund and what it could be used for, I'd like to see the assembly, since there was such big commotion and discussion regarding the haul out, if there would be a possible way to use it for the haul out. It engages in interstate commerce because the fishing fleet and multiple other vessels conduct business across state lines, and not only fishing vessels are not the only vessel that would use that haul out or could use that haul out. So passenger transports and other vessels would be able to use that. So if those funds could go towards getting the bigger lift, finishing some of the pavement, utilities, whatever, to make it a functional haul out, I'd like to see if that is something that those funds could be used for. Thank you.
Thank you. Other public comment? All right, we're now at reports. Mayor, he's not here. He's in DC, lobbying on our behalf, I hope. I have no other report. Administrator.
Yes, I do have one quick update. The city and Borough of Sitka will be removing barriers and fencing from the 400 block of Catley Street. I believe it's tomorrow at 6 a.m. The work's expected to take approximately 2 hours. Just kind of an announcement. The public can keep an eye out for that. And expect a PSA to be released if it hasn't already been. So.
Thank you. Attorney?
Nothing to report from me, just keeping the workflow going.
Thank you. Liaison representatives. Ms. Carlson.
Thank you. As liaison to Health Needs and Human Services, I think it's probably within my purview to thank the Assembly for passing on the consent agenda, the goals for this year. If I just want to tell the community, if you're interested in what those goals are, there's 2 of them, health and racial equity, and mental health, which is suicide prevention and suicide postvention. Another contender in there was about food security, because that's one of our quality of life goals in the strategic plan. And then we found that the local advocacy group did a assessment last year, and it was very well done, and the commission decided that that was adequate enough and it didn't need to be taken on by them. So we'll use the calendar year here to explore those 2 goals. That's health and racial equity, and then mental health, suicide, postvention, prevention, postvention, and report back to this body beginning of next year. That's when you'll hear from them next. So thank you for approving those goals.
Sarah. Clerk.
So we have a special election next month. The voter registration deadline is April 28th. We will begin early voting here at Harrigan May 13th, and that'll be the weekdays 8:30 to 4:30, and then Saturdays 9 to noon. We're going to be bouncing around rooms a little bit, but we've got some neat diagrams that we'll be posting for the public to look at. We offer by mail, fax, or email, personal rep, and then of course on election day the polls will be open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. So that's all I got.
Other reports. We are at adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned.